doing? My day is going pretty good. We're gonna start this back test in a minute, honestly. I mean, I'm just trying to get back into my rhythm. I mean, last time I was consistent in a minute. But yeah, we're finna get right into this right now. Give me 1 second. But yeah, wow, I get all this stuff ready. Hope you guys having a good day. I'm having.
Apology wasn't so easy.
That is so loud. There we go. Let me make sure. Hello? Let me make sure. Hello? Let me make sure. Hello? Let me make sure. What the fuck? What the fuck? Hello? 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 Okay, so I can't tell if I sound bad. So I can't tell if I sound bad. So tweak that. I can't tell if I sound bad. So tweak that. Okay, I think it sounds good now. Alright, y'all, give me 1 second. I think it sounds good now. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it like this, bro. I don't got time to fucking. I think it sounds good now. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it like this, bro. Fuck with this shit to fucking. I'm just personally this audio. Alright, y'all, let's begin the spinning wheel and let's see what the fuck we end up with. Honestly, hope that we don't end with bullshit. But yeah, let's go. Week 1. Okay. We're back testing year 2026. Alright, y'all. Gonna begin back testing right now. Alright, I'm going to mute now.
Muscle that you can if there's one muscle that you can flex, it's learning to do the same thing over and over again. Like one of the values that we had at Gym Launch is do the boring work, because boring is what makes you rich. It's amazing how much smarter you can appear with 20 minutes of preparation. Like, you can appear 50 IQ points smarter if you just prepare for meetings for 20 minutes. If you were to say, what would it take for somebody to be unreasonably good, that it would be impossible for them to not be a top 1% salesman or a top 1% content creator, and you said, what would that person need to do? Irrelevant from outcome, what would be the actions or evidence that they would have to do prior to that thing that would make it unreasonable that they couldn't succeed? What would it take for somebody to be unreasonably good, that it would be impossible for them to not be a top 1% salesman? What would it take for somebody to be unreasonably good, that it would be impossible for them to not be a top 1% salesman or a top 1% content creator? And you said, what would that person need to do? If there's one muscle that you can flex, it's learning to do the same thing over and over again. Like one of the values that we had at Gym Launch is do the boring work, because boring is what makes you rich. It's amazing how much smarter you can appear with 20 minutes of preparation. Like, you can appear 50 IQ points smarter if you just prepare for meetings for 20 minutes. If you were to say, what would it take for somebody to be unreasonably good, that it would be impossible for them to not be a top 1% salesman or a top 1% content creator, and you said, what would that person need to do? Irrelevant from outcome, what would be the actions or evidence that they would have to do prior to that thing that would make it unreasonable that they couldn't succeed? And then you do those things, what happens is you realize that it's actually not that hard because you put so much work into it, and the bar from other people working is so embarrassingly low that they then ask you how you did it, and it must be easy.
I was alone all the time. All I did was be alone. I was alone in my room playing, I was alone in the schoolyard, I was alone in lessons, I was alone walking home. And now people say, "It must be nice for you." And you go, dude, fuck you. Like, if you could have seen how much criticism and hard work and lonely nights and all of this stuff when nobody was watching and I was unsure of myself, chronically miserable, and I criticized and all my friends took the piss out of me and I did all of these things. I had to go through all of that for you to now friends you, and you go,
that they do, then you do the prior to that thing that would make it unreasonable that they relevant from outcome or a top 1% content creator, and you said, what would that person need to do? Irrelevant from outcome, what would be the actions or evidence that they would have to do prior to that thing that would make it unreasonable that they couldn't succeed? And then you do those things, what happens is you realize that it's actually not that hard because you put so much work into it, and the bar from other people working is so embarrassingly low that they then ask you how you did it, and it must be easy.
I was alone all the time. All I did was be alone. I was alone in my room playing, I was alone in the schoolyard, I was alone in lessons, I was alone walking home. And now people say, "It must be nice for you." And you go, dude, fuck you. Like, if you could have seen how much criticism and hard work and lonely nights and all of this stuff when nobody was watching and I was unsure of myself, chronically miserable, and I criticized and all my friends took the piss out of me and I did all of these things. I had to go through all of that for you to now say, "Must be nice."
What's interesting about humans is that our ability to endure is very robust if we know that we'll make it out. And so they've done mice studies where they drop the mouse in and then they let it drown, and it drowns really fast. And then they drop a mouse in, and then before it gets to the point where it drowns, they pick it up and then they put it back in. And the second time they put it in, it can last like 20 times longer. And so if I were to say, hey, I need you to hold your breath, but I don't tell you how long, 20 seconds in, you might be thinking, this is stupid. Is he going to stop? Is he going to wait for me to pass out? And all these stupid thoughts go into your mind. But if I say, I need you to hold your breath for 3 minutes, your lungs might burn, but you can see that there's this end that's coming.
That is a painful cost of trying to do things with no promise that they're going to succeed. If you knew that it was going to work, there would be no risk in doing it because it would be certain.
The difficulty with personal development and entrepreneurship is that you don't know when the end is coming, but you still need to fight like the second mouse who gets out, gets dried off, and gets put back in. And the only certainty that I can give you is that it's the same thing that every other mouse, every other person who got through that period went through.
This is what hard feels like. Did you expect it not to be hard? Did you expect this thing that you're trying to achieve not to be difficult? Every other person feels the exact same way. They also feel the hunger, they also feel the fatigue, they also feel the double-digit testosterone level and the lack of motivation and the I've got to keep the business going and I've got to keep the relationship steady and I've got to do the rest of it. Every other person that you're competing with also feels this. So when you feel that, know that this is your opportunity to separate yourself out from the pack.
And there are these common things that we say to one another that other people wouldn't believe. You don't actually get that what 100 hours of preparation for one 1-hour event looks like. You can understand it conceptually, but when you actually set a timer and you only use that timer and you pause it when you stop working and you do 100 hours of work, all of a sudden by the end of that 100 hours, you have a very different understanding to the very granular level of what it takes to be great. I think that most things are actually significantly easier than people think they are. They just don't know how to try hard. Because the harder that you try, the easier it gets. And so it's like, if you can just learn to love what trying hard feels like, then all of a sudden it becomes unreasonable that you can't win. But I think the thing that everyone who's listening lacks is the context on how hard work is, not in that it's complex, but just in that it's a continuous and unending focus on one thing and noticing the details that separate mediocrity from greatness. And if you're like, I don't know what the difference between those two things is, that is the opportunity that hard work reveals.
Right? You can beat most people at anything if you just stick with it for a year. If you're willing to suck at something for 100 days in a row, then you can beat most people at most things. The bar for excellence has never been so low.
When someone says, must be nice, you can just say, yeah, it is. Or someone says, man, you must have exceptional genetics to have the body you have, and it just happens so easily for you. And you're like, yeah, it's sweet. And the thing is that if we were to just say, like, if we lean into it, right, to some degree, by leaning into it, you also eliminate a competitor, if you want to hear my ugly side. Because if I just affirm the fact that they think it happened overnight or that it was genetic or whatever,
makes it more out of reach.
Right.
This was something that Mark Manson tweeted. He put it in his newsletter, actually, and it made me think of a lesson that I learned a long time ago. Stop complaining about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't put in. The only way to become more successful than most people is to be willing to do something most people aren't willing to do. And this is that lean-in mentality again. It's like, look, it sucks, it's shitty, you're tired, everybody says that you're leaving your friends behind, leaving your family behind, betraying your culture, betraying whatever expectation it is that they have on you. You need to do something that most people aren't willing to do. Doing what everybody else does sounds like a safe option, but it's actually a reliable route to a life that you probably don't want.
And until you get great, because as soon as you get great at one thing, you realize just the tremendous amount of hours and work that it takes to be great at one thing. And then there's this oh shit moment that I can express personally, which is you realize that there's so few things that you can be great at. And then the discipline comes down to saying, what are the 2 or 3 things that I can be really good at in my life? Because it will take me 5 to 7 years to be exceptional at this one thing.
I am going to get people saying, must be nice because I just got a promotion at work. And that's unfair because I worked hard for that. And I want them to say to me, well done. I know that you probably went through tons of hardship that I didn't see. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, well, I mean, it's all right for you, man. You just don't seem to get angry that easily. You go, dude, you know fucking nothing about me. You have no idea how hard it was for me to get from where I was to where I am now. But instead of seeing that as, you cannot change what other people are going to say, because that is the natural human response to minimize progress that other people have made in order to shorten the gap between you and them. Because if it's due to hard work, that's something that they could have done. If it's due to natural innate talent or genetic predisposition, that's something that they have no control over. So it shortens the gap of work and worth between you and them. So instead of seeing it as, oh my God, this is malignant and a personal curse and so fucking unfair, you just go, this is the price of doing business. If I want to be a mindful person, people are going to say to me, dude, you just seem so calm all the time. I wish I was like you. I wish I was built like you, but I just had too hard of a childhood. Or, dude, you're doing so well at work. I wish that I didn't have the kids, or I didn't have those restrictions, or that my parents had taught me more about business. It's just the price of doing business.
The fact that everyone looks like an overnight success means that the 10 years where they sucked, no one saw. And so the fear that you have about people noticing the fact that you fail is ridiculous, because they're barely going to notice when you succeed. And I think that once you actually give yourself the reality glasses, not the woe is me glasses, but think, no, really, if I had to do this, what are all of the things that I would have to improve? Then you see how incredibly long that list is. And then you take this deep breath, and that list is the hard work. It's starting at the top and then wanting to cross the first one off after your first day, but then realizing you still haven't done it well enough to cross it off. And you're like, wait, I have to do another day and I still haven't, quote, made a dent in this list. And then you do it another day and a third day and a fifth day and a fifth week. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I think I've got the first one done. And then you still look at this list, but along the way of doing that first one, you realize 20 other things that you could add to that list.
For every one that you cross off, you create 10 more, because you start to win in the weeds. You start to look at a higher resolution.
And that's the never-ending cycle of excellence. The reason the goal isn't coming at you fast enough is because every person you've seen accomplish the goal when no one's watching, I work harder than when they're watching. And thinking about it like that has given me this persistent and ever-present scorecard or third party that's like, no one's watching, which means now you have to work, because otherwise you're full of shit. And so it's this continuous reinforcing cycle of the me and other me holding the whip behind me to see how much I can take. But with each lash of the whip that I take, learning that I can take it and continue to trudge on. And so as long as you keep going, you bear witness to yourself of what you are capable of. It's funny because a lot of us want traits, right? We want to be patient, we want to be humble, we want to be, long suffering, whatever words you want to use. But in order to, if I would say, hey, if you had to create a human, what would you put them through to make them tough? It probably wouldn't be a really chill life. Yeah. What would you put them through to make them patient? You probably wouldn't give them things immediately. And so it's like, we want these traits, but each of the traits has a price tag attached to it. And it's just like, do you want to pay the price tag to get the thing? And so I think if people reframed the period of life that they're going through as the price that they're paying out of their wallet, but the wallet is their time, is the seconds of life that they're trading for it, then I think more people would be willing to make the trade. Because at least when I look at myself, like when I'm 80 something years old and I'm looking back on my life, I want to have these traits. But in order to have those traits, I know I have to go through these things. And I think for me, that's given me a lot of comfort in hard times. It is so easy to win. Like that, I mean, like when I hear that, that's exactly what I think. I'm just like, man, for everyone who's like struggling to win, it's like most of the pain that people experience is purely in their own minds. And so to your point, I think there's an interesting one between like burnout versus hard. And so like for me, burnout is when I would define it as my output per unit of time decreases. So I can see that that's measurable, right? Now, like I can say like number of pages that I edit or the quality of the content that I create, like my output per time, like the team knows when I'm like 6 hours, 7 hours into recording something, they're like, I literally start like slumping. You're like physically, I just start like slumping and I like my cadence isn't as like, I'm just not as sharp, right? There's that versus emotional burnout, which I think people mislabel as burnout when really it's just like they don't know how to reframe reality. And so what it really is they got a comment on a post that bugged them. And like, again, it's like pulling it from the shadows. It's like, no, this stuff doesn't work. It's like, hold on. What's the one voice that actually is coming through? What is the real thing? So it's like just emotional burnout, which I think people mislabel as burnout when really it's just like they don't know how to reframe reality. And so what it really is they got a comment on a post that bugged them. And like, again, it's like pulling it from the shadows. It's like, no, this stuff doesn't work. It's like, hold on. What's the one voice that actually is coming through? What is the real thing? Well, there was this comment. Okay. What? And like, again, it's like pulling it from the shadows. It's like, no, this stuff doesn't work. It's like, hold on. What's the one voice that actually is coming through? What is the real thing? Well, there was this comment. Okay, great. It's embarrassing to even have to say that. But when you say it, then you admit it and all of a sudden you put it in the light and the shame kind of starts to evaporate, because then you can name it and be like, is this comment bigger than my future? Is this comment bigger than me? And one of the things that that has helped me was saying like, what's true about this? What if we confront it and say like, what if they're right? Now what? Because I think a lot of effort gets put into trying to deny reality, right? Like there's this clip that I shared from Tom Bilyeu, and he was talking about how he gets made fun of for his ears being big. right? And I think it's a really good clip because his point that he was making, because it's such a visual, easy example for people to understand. He's like, it's true. I do have big ears. And so that's like if they're like, you have no right to be making content. Are they right? Okay. And I'm still going to do it anyways. Because the thing is, like, one of the things that I had earlier on in my career was like, I didn't think I was a really good person. Like, I was like, I'm not a good person.
Yeah,
like some people were like, yeah, I just had that, right? And I had a history, whatever. And one of the things that gave me a lot of respite or relief from that kind of thought process was like, that's okay, because I can still do the things that create success and not deserve it and still get it. You don't have to deserve the girl, but you can still do the things that get her. They spend so much effort trying to fight the fact that the comments might be right. This might have been a terrible thumbnail.
Yep.
You know what? This might have been a boring video. This post might have been regurgitated content. This post might have been inspired too closely by someone else's post, right? What if they're right? And does it make me a piece? What if it does? And
you end up getting down to base, which is pretty much nothing. Like,
right.
All that there is actions. All that there is what you're going to do in response to this.
Yeah.
This is what hard feels like. Yeah. Most people get to this stage and they decide to stop. And now the bar is set so low. Yeah. Goggin said this in the episode with me, and it gave me chills when he said it. He was like, it's so easy to be successful nowadays because people are weak.
Yeah.
Everybody's weak.
You stay in poverty until you learn the first lesson of poverty, which is 2 words, my fault. And so when I was younger, I was really angry at my parents, like many people are, right? Justified or not, doesn't really matter. I was very angry and I blamed them for the woes of my life. And I realized when I was 19 that these people that I hated, I was giving all the power over the fact that I wasn't the person I wanted to be. And I was like, well, it's their fault. And the idea that I had actually given these people that I hated power over my success was ultimately something that made me feel sick to my stomach and was what allowed me to point the finger of blame inwards and say my fault, and then at least take ownership over the fact that sure, maybe your dad didn't hug you enough, or maybe your mom wasn't present, or whatever it is, right? It's like, and power follows the blame finger. So like wherever you point the blame finger is where the power follows. And so it's like if you point it at the government has the power. If you point it at your spouse and say like it's their fault that I'm not in shape, it's their fault, they never let me do anything, it's like, well, you're giving them all the power. And so it's like until you're like it's my fault, it also becomes my responsibility. What is?
What if it's not your fault?
It doesn't matter. Like I can't run marathons because I lost my leg at birth. And either you can just never try, or you put the metal thing on and you do it anyways. 2 things. One is knowing the input-output equation. The second is knowing what your fuel is going to be. So if you can't define the inputs and outputs that are going to get you what you want, then there's no way to start, right? Because you don't know what you're supposed to do. So you have to define it down to like the most basic first action. So it's like, if I want to start creating content, then it means I have to post something. If it means I have to start doing I always think in terms of business because that's what I'm in, but like I'm either doing a cold reach out, I'm doing a cold call, cold email, cold DM, whatever that is. I have to make a piece of content. I have to post it. I have to make a podcast. I have to make a YouTube video. I have to make a short, whatever that is, make a blog post. I have to run an ad, right? I have to run the ad. I have to press go. I have to spend the money, whatever it is, like whatever that core initial action is.
Go to the gym,
input.
lift the weight, put the shoes on, get in the car.
Whatever the input is, you have to define what the input is that's going to get you the output you want. Now, once you know what that input output is, the next one is why aren't you doing it? When the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And I think pain moves people far, far more effectively than pleasure does. Like the easy way to prove it is like point a gun at someone's head and you have absolute compliance and they will do what they need to do, right? Automatically, just like that. Like death is the great motivator and the gun just reminds you. I think that if you can create the figurative gun to your head of the pain that you're experiencing, and then I'm a big fan of future casting out negative scenarios. So people talk about like positive visualization. I prefer negative visualization, which is what if I keep doing what I'm currently doing for the next 10 years? What will my life look like then? That usually takes my current pain and then just magnifies it. And then that allows me to get my action threshold high enough that it goes over the edge so that I can take that first move. And so if you know what the inputs outputs are of what you need to do, the guy who has the little quote on his wall, and you figure out whatever fuel you've got, not the one you wish you had, but the one you've got, and you use that to do the first input, you've crossed the line. You're in the game. Point of the game is to keep playing. And I think and I would imagine success, if you put all of those things together, it's an infinite game. And so the point of success is to do the things that make you successful. And so if you're doing the things that are making you successful, then you are by definition winning. The point of the game is to keep playing. And like there are some things that I remind myself over and over again. This is like the point of the game is to keep playing. That's the point. That is the point, is to just keep playing. People look at champions and try and find something that that champion has that they don't have. And he's like, but it's not that at all. He's like, they lack something everyone else has, which is an off button. They just don't stop. And at the end of the day, like, if we're optimizing for outcomes, then the most broken person will win. The person who has the absolute biggest, desire for achievement, the absolute biggest fear or pain that they're running away from, and the hardest impulse control. Now, impulse control, most people would agree, is a good thing. The other two, not as much. And so, what are we optimizing for? What problem are we solving? It's my favorite. It's probably the number one most frequently asked question that I ask to our portfolio companies whenever we're about to do anything, which is, what problem are we solving? If the problem that we're solving is that I want to be content, well, there's a lot of ways to do that. You don't need to do all these other things. If the problem you're solving is that you want to be the richest man in the world, well, you're going to have a lot of superiority complex, you're going to have a lot of crippling insecurity, and you're going to have a lot of impulse control, and you're going to have to wait a long time. If they can do it, so can I. The person who loves walking walks further than the person who loves the destination, right? And so, I think it's the same thing. But you are going to die, and you're not going to matter, and I'm going to die, and I'm not going to matter. So why do I care about what you're going to say when you're not even going to show up to my funeral? Who gives? I'm a big fan of being directionally correct rather than absolutely correct. And so I think what happens is most people are trying to find the perfect answer when they have no perspective from which to make a judgment. They're trying to find the perfect thing to do when they haven't done anything. So how would you have perspective to make a judgment? What do I hate doing? Well, let me not do that, which is, sitting on meetings all day and doing whatever, doing grunt work that I felt like was meaningless. And instead, I was like, I'll do fitness because I like fitness. And I was like, at the very least, I'll do something I enjoy. Doing things like we did in the past that reward us will reward us again in the future. That's where our behavior comes from. If you're looking for the perfect investment, you won't find one. There's always downsides. Every investment has risk. Right? And so using that frame, you're like, well, there's all these paths. Which one do I choose? It's like, well, you have to, the one thing that's guaranteed is if you keep the money, it will go down in value because it'll inflate, right? So not investing is the only way guaranteed to not get a return on your investment. The only win you get from not prepping and showing up to the fight is that you appear to be more naturally gifted, and I would rather be known for my work ethic than my natural gift as an aside, but you appear to be more naturally gifted, and then you win by less than you would if you prepared. The thing that's made the season hard is not actually like work ethic or even time constraints, because I work pretty much every day all day, but that's been baseline, and that doesn't really bother me very much. Not even bother me very much. I like doing that. The thing is that the nature of what fills that time. And so if I have all the things that are not work that are related to work that I must do as a result so that I can get back to doing the work I like doing. Me writing a book is the most is my favorite thing in the entire world. Us doing these podcasts is some of the best moments that I get to have in my life. Twice a month, I'll have business owners who come out that are bigger, that are kind of not portfolio ready, but they're doing usually $5 to $25 million a year, right in that range. And I spend a whole day with those 10 businesses. And it's and I tell them, I'm like, this is the fucking best. I love this. This is my favorite thing in my entire life. But it's everything that's not that. And Bezos talks about the overhead, right? And I think it's when the overhead starts to become a disproportionate amount of your time. And I think that at every level of at least entrepreneurship, I get these periods where the overhead just become bigger and bigger and bigger until I fix it.
There comes a time when the hard work you have to do is learning that you can't work any harder any longer, and that you have to change what got you here to what will get you to where you want to go. You can work to get anything you want, but you have to sacrifice the other things you want to keep it. And that's sometimes harder than the work.
What makes the suck keep sucking is what makes punishment effective, which is increasing intensity and variety. And so if you want to effectively punish someone, you can't just keep punishing them the same way. You have to increase intensity and change how you do it. And the beautiful thing is that life doesn't fight fair. And so life will change the intensity and will give you more variety. How many times have you been like, I didn't know life could suck in this way? This is a new one. Yeah. Wow. You spin the roulette of life and you're like, oh, here's another one. Have we habituated to failure? No, it's too generalized. So the failures that occur are specific. And so it's just I didn't know I could fail in this way. Every single guy who was in that room texted me afterwards, just that was fucking awesome. I wish we could work like this all the time. And so I don't think we talk about work and what makes work hard and all of these things, but most of the things, once you learn how to work, the work itself is self-reinforcing and you enjoy it. It's everything else that you didn't know you were going to have to sacrifice so that you could get back to working. And so that's where I've had to really consider this Bulgarian method approach in Bulgaria. This tiny little nation disproportionately outcompetes in Olympic lifting. And the way that they do it is they have a system which basically just breaks everyone who does it except for the one person who can sustain it, and he becomes champion. The path, the science of achievement is fairly straightforward, right? You have to pursue high leverage opportunities. And that is the working smart. And then if everyone is working smart, then the only thing left that you have to compete is working hard, right? Because people say work smart, not hard. Only works when you compete against dumb people. The juice that comes out is your output, and the thing that's being squeezed is you. And so that's what I've been thinking a lot about. I respect it, but I will never understand it. I love training. I love working out. I've been doing it. It was my first love. The first thing I ever liked, like really got obsessed with. And over probably the last, however many years, I still obviously trained. I was still, in shape, but my training was, sometimes 2 days a week, sometimes 3 days a week. It would be, 60 minutes, maybe 90 if I got lucky. And I had this realization, it was during this year, where I was like, I have all this fucking money and I can do whatever I want. And I was like, and I can't even have my workout be as long as I want it to be. And so I basically made a rule for myself that I will not work out if I am rushed. That's the deal. And so I will work out for as long as it takes to work out. And that's that. And so that means that if my workout takes 2 hours or takes 2.5 hours, or I'm with a friend and it takes 3 hours because we're just like talking between sets and having a great time, there are 3 things in this world that bring me joy. Working out with somebody that I like, eating food with somebody that I like, ideally after I worked out, and writing. The 3 things that bring me the most joy in life. And I was like, why am I sacrificing one of the only 3 things in this world that I know that I enjoy to get something that I hoped would buy me the freedom to work out as much as I wanted whenever I wanted? And so what are the things that I put on the altar of the success? So what are the things that I sacrificed for this god of achievement? And I was like, this one I'm not willing to sacrifice anymore. And so I think part of the reason that has been a lifeboat for me, or a life raft, while this kind of worst season has happened, it's like I've put on 20 pounds of muscle. I've been using that as a really wonderful outlet. And I was like, man, and I'm focusing more on this. Like my training partner every day, I'm like, dude, thank you for doing this with me. Like this is awesome. Like, this is great. Like I've won the day. Like if I did nothing else, I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I crushed this workout. And that's enough. Take a moment of your life and they will extrapolate it to forever. And assume that if you change your mind, that what you did before this was wrong, but it wasn't wrong. It was right for that time. And then we got feedback during a different time, and this is right for me now. And so I'm going to course correct now. And if something else changes, guess what? You're free to change your mind tomorrow. Number 1, my embedded command to everyone is use if useful. Use if useful, number 1. Number 2, this is a documentary, not a sermon. This is a showing, at least my content is this is me showing what's going on, and I try to be real. And that means that if I change my mind, then it'll change. 3rd, model the rise if you want the rise, model the plateau if you want the plateau. And so saying, Warren Buffett says that he had a great year if he only makes one good decision. It's like saying, to get rich, I should fly private. Doesn't really work that way. I should play basketball. I want to get tall. It's you're conflating variables, right? I should go to the gym once I have energy. I should start saving money once I'm rich. That's when I'll do it. It just conflates sequence, right? It's a when-then fallacy. And so I think the greatest skill is the ability to discern what things to use and what things to cast out. It is the central narrative of noise versus signal. And the reason that I've spent such a disproportionate amount of time focused on behavior was because there's so much noise that if people cannot translate their quote advice into what I should do, then there's nothing useful about it, which is why I think the density of useful information, I think people are bloodhounds for value, but I think that value gets translated in the most crystallized, distilled, concentrated manner when it can be translated into do this instead of that. Period. And everything else, the amorphous words that people use, especially the motivation manifesto, or just manifestation, we'll get into that one. That is what leads more people astray. And so they take the entirety of someone and without all of the other conditions that apply to that person and say, I will take this and apply it to my life.
You're going to lose sleep. You'll doubt whether it'll work. You'll stress to make ends meet. You won't finish your to-do list. You'll wonder whether you made the right call and have no way to know for years. This is what hard feels like, and that's okay. Everything worth doing is hard, and the more worth doing it is, the harder it is. The greater the payoff, the greater the hardship. If it's hard, good. It means no one else will do it. More for you.
Personal growth is training yourself on how you respond to hard. Because in the early days, hard was, stop. This isn't good. This is a warning sign. This is a red flag. I should slow down, or I should stop, I should pivot. But the more I think about it as a competitive landscape, as I'm clear on what this path is supposed to look like, and these rocks and these dragons are things that I'm going to have to slay along the way to get the princess or get the treasure, I get happier about the harder it is because I know that no one else will follow.
It's a selection effect.
And I think if you can shift from this is hard to no one else will be able to do this, then it flips from being this thing that you're like, oh, poor me, to oh, poor everyone else who's going to have to try.
Yeah.
And I think that is so much more motivating as a frame for the exact same circumstance. Like the amount of times when I was on my lonely path where I was too different from the friends that I had, but not successful enough to be friends with the people that I wanted to be friends with. That's when you want people to root for you. That's when you want people to support you. Once you've already won, people are like, he's amazing, he's so good. But like, that's the time when you need it the least. And so you always have to be the person who roots for you before everyone else does. It won't get harder. Like, this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons are going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. And you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. You have the audience. You have all of these other things that are behind you. But in the beginning, it's just you with a stick against a bear. And arguably that fight is a harder fight to win than beating a dragon when you have a nuclear bomb and 6 nations behind you. And so it's not even like the size of the hardship, it's just also the resources and how few of them you have, and how so much of the beginning is literally burning the one thing you have, which is time, because you have no leverage. You don't have the money to pay other people to help you. You don't have the resources to go like get someone no one can learn it for you. It's like there's a lot of the things that we care about a lot, like no one can work out for you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. No one can learn skills for you. And so in the early days, like it feels so painful because you're like, you look around to see who can help you and then you're like, it's me again. Expecting it to be easy is what makes it much harder than it ever is. Experts have more ways to win than beginners do. And so if an expert goes into any setting that they're expert in, they have so many faster feedback loops that reward them in the moment before the ultimate outcome. So if you're a master video editor, there's so many things that you can do that while editing, you make one change and then it looks right. You have a positive feedback loop. And so I think when you're on the start path, you can't look at the outcome as the only positive because you will never make it. Only way for them to feel safe agreeing with you is for you to disagree with them for a very long period of time until you prove that you're right. Everyone thinks you're crazy until it works. Never create work around your passion because then it'll become work. And he was a guy who's a very successful business guy. And I think about that actually more than I'd share, because it's just complete and utter, because it assumes that what you're going to be doing every day is the thing that you're currently really interested, which also doesn't make you money. I mean, starting is the perfect condition. Like whatever condition that you're in that you start was the perfect condition. Circumstance has nothing to do with what your subjective well-being is. And there was this huge conflict for such a long period of time where I was like, you're supposed to be happy. Why aren't you happier? Like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with you. Something needs to change. Rather than saying like, maybe the level of happy that you are is fine.
The thing that you do for work and the thing that you do for fun are the same thing.
If you've tried that path and it hasn't worked for you, then you have this dark door that's in the corner that you've been trying all the other ones that have nice gold edges and really shiny things, but there's that door that you keep looking at, and it's the other side of you that's clearing his throat in the other room. And it's like, you just have to bust through the door. And I think that giving yourself permission to be unhappy, or at least for me, giving myself permission to be unhappy for an extended period of time in order to get what I wanted, gave me so much relief from, honestly, I don't like using the word nowadays because it has so many associations, but just from like the depression or the funk that I was in for a few years.
Right.
I just didn't like my life. And I had achieved by most measures, because I don't have the, school failed me, I was whatever, like I wasn't that. I finished in 3 years and I did really well in school and I had a really good job. But it was empty for me. And so my goal is things we talked about earlier, but my personal goal is to squeeze every ounce of potential out of whatever I have. And I think that if you feel like you have potential left over, then it will eat you alive until you do something about it. When you go home, right, and you want to start a new business, or you have a girl that you're bringing back, and your friends and your family are like, she's not going to last, or like, this isn't going to be forever. They are right. Literally every single time, except for the one time you bring your wife home. And in that time, they're all wrong, and it's the one time that fucking matters. Because of the false positives or the true positives, they might have been right literally 19 out of 20 times. And if they were right the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time, why would they bet against no on the 5th time or the 50th time? but you only need one yes or one positive to change your entire life. I mean, I have 2 physician parents. So like, and I would say Western, for the most part, Western medicine through the just belief in all pharmaceuticals and all that kind of stuff. And so I grew up really close to it. My grandfather is a physician. So like just lots of medicine in the family in general. And I just hate it. I really do. I don't hate a lot of things, but I hate what it does to people. And more, the underlying thing is that they reject being human and they think there's something wrong with them. And so many people waste all of their time trying to solve a problem that is life rather than living it. And it drives me nuts. Like they search for the medication rather than confronting the problem. Like, you don't have an anxiety problem. You need to deal with whatever the thing you're worried about is. If you're insecure, which everybody is, let's be real, you might as well use the insecurity to get something out of it. Right? Like one of my favorite things about entrepreneurship is like, use what you've got. And so a lot of people think that they need to fix their conditions in order to get like the perfect conditions before they start. But the perfect condition is whatever one you're in, because it gives you whatever assets you have. That's the cards that you're dealt. And so you just play the hand. And a lot of people have great cards. It's like, man, I'm so afraid of it. It's like, use it. It's like, I have nothing. What makes you very dangerous because you have nothing to lose, right? Like one of the really interesting things about, I think about it from a business perspective, but it probably applies to everything, is that there's always an advantage and a disadvantage from every position, right? So like, I remember Gym Launch is still a big company and still continues to grow, but in the gym licensing space, there's not many people who can compete with us there, right? And I would talk to guys who are in the space, I would talk at a conference, whatever. And younger guys would be like, well, I want to be in this space too. And it's not fair because, you have this big advantage. And I was like, you have a way bigger advantage than I do. I was like, because if I were in your position, I would go to every single gym owner and be like, you don't want to be with Gym Launch. You don't want to be with Alex. You're just a number to him. Like, you're never going to talk to him. Like, you're just a cog in the wheel there. With me, you're going to get my personalized attention. There is just some employee down the chain that's following some process, right? I was like, but on the flip side, if I'm talking to that same gym owner, then I'm going to say, you don't want to talk to Jimmy. He lives in his mom's basement. He has no proof that he's good at what he's at. The reason that we're number one in the space is because we've done it so many times and we have a system that we know that if you go on this side, you will get this result on the outside. I was like, there's always a position and there's always an advantage. I was like, you just have to play the one you've got. And most people just look at what everyone else's advantages and don't think, which one do I have? Everyone's afraid of losing money when they invest, but the only guaranteed investment that doesn't work is never investing to begin with. They take the long failure rather than the short one, right? I mean, it's what it is, right? You just fail long. You and I are going back and forth on trying to figure out how many different ways can I say that either the people that you're worried about judgment are going to die, or that you're going to die, or that even if you do achieve the thing, they won't care anyways. Or if you don't do anything, they won't think about you to begin with. And don't you want to be thought about to begin with? Like, don't you want some level of significance? To understand is to forgive. Rather than saying like, what do I want? It's what do I hate least? Like, this is the hardest part. And so if you can just make it through this, everything else is downhill. It's not that the things that the dragons are going to slay aren't going to get bigger. They are. But you become so much more equipped to slay them back. And you have so many more allies. You have people in the stands cheering for you. You have the audience. You have all of these other things that are behind you. But in the beginning, it's just you with a stick against a bear. And arguably that fight is a harder fight to win than beating a dragon when you have a nuclear bomb and 6 nations behind you. And so it's not even like the size of the hardship, it's just also the resources and how few of them you have, and how so much of the beginning is literally burning the one thing you have, which is time. Because you have no leverage. You don't have the money to pay other people to help you. You don't have the resources to go like get someone no one can learn it for you. It's like there's a lot of the things that we care about a lot, like no one can work out for you. It doesn't matter how much money you have, no one can learn skills for you. And so in the early days, like, it feels so painful because you're like, you look around to see who can help you, and then you're like, it's me again. I think it's just giving yourself permission to suck. It's giving yourself permission to be unhappy. It's giving yourself permission to not achieve while you do for a long period of time. It's giving yourself permission to lose friends. It's giving yourself permission to do things that's different than people in your social circle or your age group are doing. Giving yourself permission to be an exception so that you can become exceptional. Going through the shit, which is honestly the boring stuff that no one wants to do for an extended period of time. Accepting that you suck and that it is okay, because the first step is accepting that you suck so that you can do the second step, which is doing something about it. But if you are the goal, then the actions you take every day are reinforcing who you believe yourself to be. That's where the confidence comes from. The world belongs to optimists, because if you're going to do anything big, you have to believe that it can happen. Otherwise, it never will. I think that most of us can look back on our lives to 10 years ago and think about the problems that we were dealing with then, and think about how much of a pittance and how small those problems were compared to the problems that we deal with today. And so I then think, okay, well, if I feel that way about the problems that I had 10 years ago, then 10 years from now, Alex will look back at the problems that I'm dealing with today and feel the same way. And so if he feels that way then about the problems that I have now, then the only difference is the perspective that he has that I don't have. And maybe these aren't problems at all. Maybe these are just facts of life and I need to habituate to them. What's interesting about humans is that our ability to endure is very robust if we know that we'll make it out. And so if I were to say, hey, I need you to hold your breath, but I don't tell you how long, 20 seconds in, you might be thinking, this is stupid. Is he gonna stop? Is he gonna wait for me to pass out? And all these stupid thoughts go into your mind. But if I say, I need you to hold your breath for 3 minutes, your lungs might burn, but you can see that there's this end that's coming. The difficulty with personal development and entrepreneurship is that you don't know when the end is coming, but you still need to fight like the second mouse who gets out, gets dried off, and gets put back in. And the only certainty that I can give you is that it's the same thing that every other mouse, every other person who got through that period went through. And you won't die. Best case, you win. Worst case, it won't matter. The vast majority of successful people have one thing in common, which is they're consistent. And consistency, you cannot see in a snapshot. You can't see consistency in a soundbite. You can't see consistency in a reel. And so consistency is one of those things. I think you talked about unlearnable lessons. I think they are difficult to learn without large amounts of exposure. And I think those are the types of lessons that become unlearnable, is that you need large amounts of exposure in order to encapsulate the